This
So,
conference will now be recorded.
America, right? Halloween. It was a pleasure being. First of all, everyone could say hello to Matt. Well, okay.
Hello, everyone.
So it was a pleasure being in Israel. It's always a pleasure being in Israel. It's especially a pleasure being in Israel around Halloween time, because my associations with Halloween was kind of harrowing, actually. Yeah, going to a yeshiva high school, and that is when our not so friendly neighborhood teens would gather around, and as we're leaving school, getting pelted with eggs, things like that. It wasn't a pleasant time, though. For many, right, Halloween is simply it's fun. You get into the costumes and go trick or treating, get some good candies, get some good sweets. So, as we title this, Halloween, is it for us? Okay, so let's examine some of the sources, and then let's see how they would apply to Halloween, and you know, and we'll contrast that with Christmas, with Thanksgiving, right, and see where Halloween ends up as we apply it to Jewish law, which is Jewish guidance. Yes, Cheryl.
Did they only do that on Halloween or all the time?
Okay.
Tell Jewish.
It wasn't all the time. Hello, Leah. It certainly wasn't all the time. Very often, in the schoolyard, right? We'd be playing basketball. They play, right? They come, right? We would beat them in basketball. They wouldn't be too happy about that. That would turn into a fist fight. So it was a very tense situation year round, often erupting into fist fights. But Halloween was a time where it was scheduled, it was calendared, as opposed to organically becoming what it became. Okay, so again, let's look at our source sheet, and let's begin with the Torah. Okay, always a good place for us to begin. The In Vayikra we have Vaydaber Hashem El Moshe Lemor. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, we have it both in Hebrew and English. Everyone follow as you feel most comfortable. Daber el bnei Yisrael, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, Martalhem, Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem your God. And therefore, that is what you must follow. Kamaaseh Eretz Mitzrayim, like the acts, the practices of the land of Egypt. Asher Yashavtem Ba, that you settled there. Lo ta'asu, those practices you shall not do, you shall not follow. Ukamaseh Eretz Canaan, Ashani mevi etchem shama, and like the practices of the land of Canaan that I'm bringing you to there, lo ta'asu, you shall not do. And here are the key words: uvechukotehem lo telechu. Do not follow their laws, do not follow their practices, do not follow their ways. At mishpatai ta'asu, my mishpatim, my judgment, my rules you shall follow. Chukotai tishmeru, my ordinances you shall follow. Lalechet bahem, to go on those paths. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem your God. Ushmartem, and when you will observe, keep, guard my chukim, chukotai mishpatai, my ordinances, my rules, my judgments. Asher yaseh otam adam v'chai bahem. Those are the things that you shall do. V'chai bahem, and you shall live by them. It will give you life, and that is the way that you shall live. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. So the term that is used in halacha is derived from the last words of that middle pasuk, chukot ha'amim, the ways of the nations, chukot ha'amim, and Shulchan Aruch, which is the code of Jewish law. The code of Jewish law has four different parts to it, chalakim to it, and this is part of Yoredeya. Yoredeya is, well, we have the part which deals with, just one second, there we go. We have the part which deals with the day-to-day activities, whether it's prayer, whether it is Shabbos, whether it is tzitzis and tefillin, whether it is holidays. We have the part which deals with marital laws. We have the part which deals with business laws, and Yoredeya deals with the laws of kashrut and the laws of family purity and the laws of mezuzah. Almost a catch-all of all other things. And Siman 178, Kuf Ayin Ches, deals with Chukos Ha'amim, with the ways of the nation. And we're going to be quoting from first the Shulchan Aruch, Rav Yosef Karo. When I was in Israel, we visited Rav Yosef Karo's synagogue in Tzfat, right? And then we'll have the Ramah. The Ramah of Moshe Isserles was in Europe, was in Poland. And when we had the Beth Jacob Poland Israel trip, we visited the grave of the Ramah. And both Rav Yosef Karo in Israel and the Ramah in Poland were writing their incredible work of the compendium of Jewish law. Rav Yosef Karo came out with it first, and neither necessarily knew that the other one was in the process of compiling it. And he sent a copy of it to the Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserles, for him to look it over. The Ramah said, oh boy, I was doing something very, very similar. And there were many differences also, because whereas Rav Yosef Karo was following the customs that had become practiced amongst the Sephardic communities, the Ramah was writing the customs that become practiced and halacha, minhag halacha, according to the Ashkenazic communities. And he was afraid that if he would publish his own, then we would be split into two. We'd have two different Torahs and become two different nations. Therefore, instead of writing his own, what he did was he added notes onto the Shulchan Aruch. He added notes, the gloss, onto that which the Shulchan Aruch wrote. And for the most part, it's all the same, but where there are differences or added explanations, that's where the Ramah has his gloss. So over here in Kuf Ayin Ches 178, the Shulchan Aruch, the Rav Yosef Karo writes, a Jew should not follow the customs of non-Jews, nor should one try to resemble them. He's quoting the Tur in the name of the Rambam. One should not wear clothing that is particular to them, their culture. One should not grow forelocks on one's head like the forelocks on their heads. One should not shave the sides of one head and grow one's hair in the middle of one's head like they do, the mohawk. One should not shave the hair in front of one's face from ear to ear and let one's hair grow in the back like they do. One should not build buildings like the non-Jews' temples, so that large groups of people enter them like non-Jews do. That is how Rav Yosef Karo, the Shulchan Aruch, codifies this idea of chukot ha'amim. Don't feel you need to follow their styles, right? Their different haircuts, those who have hair, right? But we should go our own way. Okay. The Ramah now explains further. Rather, that's italicized. One should be distinct from them in one's manner of dress and in all of one's actions. But all of these restrictions apply only to things that non-Jews. He's going to give us 3 different categories of things that we must stay away from. Things that non-Jews do for the sake of licentiousness, right? Immorality. For example, they are accustomed to wearing red clothing, which is official princely clothing, and other clothing that is similarly immodest. Right? In the time then, red was considered to be an immodest color. So we should not follow their ways if it's a matter of immodesty. Furthermore, these restrictions also apply to things that they are accustomed to doing because of a custom or rule that has no underlying reason. Right? If there's no right, if they have a reason that they do something that there's no reason for it or none that can be attributed to it. Out of concern that a Jew does such things will follow the ways of the Amorites, the ways of those nations. Number 3, and that it has the blemish is tainted by idol worship inherited from their ancestors. So if it's something of immorality, if it's something of no value, no reason, if it has any taint of idolatry, those are the things that we must stay away from. But things they're accustomed to doing for a useful purpose, such as their custom for expert doctors to wear particular clothing, so the doctors will be recognized as specialists, one is permitted to wear such clothing. Right? There's a reason for it. It's nothing to do with idolatry, nothing to do with immorality. There's a good, valid reason for it. It makes sense. We could do it. Similarly, things that are done out of respect or another reason, it is permitted to do such things. And therefore, they said one may burn the items of deceased kings. And there is not in this following the ways of the Amorites. Okay, right? Something that was done in biblical times, that out of respect, that no one else should use that a king had used. It would degrade the honor of a king and of future kings. So they would burn the belongings. Right? We say it makes more sense. Hey, let's let someone else utilize it. But out of respect, they would do that. So that became adopted, that we did the same for the Jewish kings, because that was out of respect, out of honor. Nothing to do with immorality, nothing to do with idolatry. And there was a reason behind it, a reason that we could connect to. Giving respect to a king is something that we had to do. And therefore, that would not, even though it's not found in the Torah, and it's a practice of the nations, but again, it passes the test. It passes the test of it's not immoral, it's not idolatrous in its root, and it's not that there's no reason, meaning there is a reason for it, and that reason is something that we ascribe to, namely giving honor to kings. Okay. With that having been said, let's examine for a moment Christmas. Does Christmas fit this category? Can a Jew celebrate? Now, in the United States, the December 25th is a national holiday. We daven 8:30 Shacharis on December 25th, right? Why? Because everyone's off from work, right? So one could argue it's a national holiday. The banks are closed. The stock market is closed. Beth Jacobs starts davening 8:30 in the morning instead of 6:30. Everyone's off from work. It's a national holiday. So what's wrong with my celebrating a little bit, right? Joining in the Christmas celebrations. Good argument or not good argument? Oh, not good argument. Why not a good argument? They're saying, who's this rabbi that we hired over here? Gosh, right? What kind of rabbi is this anyhow?
It has nothing to do with the Christmas thing if you're doing it later.
Okay. So the fact that it's a national holiday, it's not a national holiday, but since so many people in the United States are not going to go to work anyhow on that day, so they decided to make that a national, but it's not a national holiday. It's a religious holiday, which has its roots in Christianity. Actually, actually, it has its roots going back much earlier than that, and actually, it has pagan roots, which Christianity sort of built upon. We'll come to that in a little bit. So when we look at the Ramah's requirements, right? Immorality? No, not necessarily immorality. But does it have a reason behind it? It has a reason behind it. What's the reason behind it? Well, idolatry, right? This person who was worshipped who is worshipped by many or viewed by many as a god, idolatry. Therefore, it's very clear that Christmas does not pass the Ramah's test. Okay, and therefore, even though we'll enjoy a day off, if it's a day off, right? We can enjoy a day off. We can sleep a little bit later. Minyan starts a little bit later. But involving ourselves in any of the practices of Christmas, that everyone agrees, everyone is very clear, that is nicht für unseren. That's not for us. That's clear. Thanksgiving. Let's look at Thanksgiving. Okay? Thanksgiving. Immorality? No, no immorality when it comes to Thanksgiving. Pagan, idolatrous, idolatrous roots? No. It's not religious at all. Right? I'm sorry?
It originally started, even though it's nice to say Thanksgiving, it really started to gather the Indians around so they could kill them.
I don't know if that's necessarily what it was always about. It was always about gathering Indians so we can kill them. I think it was. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about that. Maybe there were cases of that. I don't think that was the root of Thanksgiving. Let's have a big meal, gather Indians, kill them, right? I don't think that was I'm pretty sure that was not the root of it. Okay? Yes.
They started Thanksgiving because it was the Indians who showed them how to farm and how to survive, and they were actually very close with them.
Okay.
And so they came
That's
to the feast.
that's the two ends of the spectrum, and the truth is probably somewhere closer to the middle of I'm sure there were these groups and those groups, right? But yeah, but certainly when we deal with Thanksgiving, we don't see any immorality, we don't see anything pagan, we don't see anything religious. Rather, it's a national holiday, meaning religions, Christians elsewhere don't celebrate Thanksgiving. It's an American national holiday, the basis of which is a concept that we understand, we appreciate, and that is thanksgiving, giving thanks and sharing it with family. Ideally, we do that daily when we say Moda Ani. We gather together with family on a weekly basis. I remember we were living in New York and we went to buy a dining room table, Craigslist from a dining room set from a non-Jewish family in Rockland. And we got there, I don't know what it was, but it was already all set for Thanksgiving well before Thanksgiving. And basically, right, this nice Gentile family would sit at their dining room table twice a year, Christmas and Thanksgiving. So after Christmas, they set it up already for Thanksgiving, even though that would be like 11 months later, right? Whereas for us, every Shabbos is a time to gather together. So the principles are good. Yes, Esther.
Well, if you're talking about the holiday of Thanksgiving, it was proclaimed a national holiday by, I believe, Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't necessarily a national holiday before then, but it did have a little bit of religious overtone to it, I think, in his proclamation.
Okay.
But not necessarily speaking about the Christian God or anything.
Okay, good. Yes. Okay, so Esther pointed out that in his proclamation, it did mention religion, but I think we need to differentiate between mentioning religion and mentioning God, right? And we're all in favor of mentioning God, right? Hopefully 100 times a day. Baruch atah Hashem. We're all in favor of that. Besides the myriad mentions of God's name that we have in our daily prayers, besides all of the brachot. So Thanksgiving is widely accepted in the Jewish world because, again, there's no immorality. Looking at that Ramah, immorality passes the test. Non-pagan roots. A reason behind it? Yes, a reason behind it. A reason behind it that we ascribe to? Gratitude? Absolutely. Yes.
Speaking about gratitude, so we actually know the name of the Indian that helped the pilgrims. If you do research, you can find the name.
Yeah, look, I'm not, definitely there are many Indians that helped.
So it's historic.
Yes. Then they certainly did help us. What we did with that help wasn't always all that glorious, right?
Yeah, things changed.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. So now let's take this rubric of the Ramah and let's apply it to Halloween. So on the very bottom of the first page there, I have from Rav Broida. And so the questions that we'll need to ask are, right, or determine before we actually get to it, what we'll need to look at is, well, let's see, right? Number one, Halloween celebrations have a secular origin, right? If we can show that they have a secular origin, if we could show that it has a secular origin, Thanksgiving-like in nature, then we'd be very fine with it. Number two, the conduct of the individuals celebrating Halloween can be rationally explained independent of Halloween, right? Meaning, right, Thanksgiving is something that can be rationally explained independent of November 24th. Number three, the pagan origins of Halloween or the Catholic response to it are so deeply hidden that they have disappeared, and the celebrations, can be attributed to some secular source or reason, right? Meaning even something initially had some pagan or Christian aspect to it, if it has completely disappeared. Now, to be fair, for some people, Christmas has nothing to do with its pagan roots and its Christian aspects, right? For some people, that's how they view Christmas, right? But being that that's not what, I mean, even amongst some, not talking about amongst Jews, amongst non-Jews, right? And even some Jews, wrongly, in my opinion, right? But it's a family time, it's a happy time, it's a sweet time, it's a season, whatever. So is that the case over here, that it's so deeply hidden that it's disappeared? And number four, the activities memorialized by Halloween are actually consistent with the Jewish tradition. Okay? With that, we turn the page and have a fascinating glimpse into what this Halloween actually came about from. Yes, Dove.
Everybody should know it's hollow because it's Halloween. Why they name it?
Thank you, Dove. Okay, let's continue. 2,000 years ago, the Celts lived in what is now Ireland. Okay, actually, the Boston Celtics, one of the basketball teams, right? So their little logo is a little Irish guy. Yeah. Okay. The Celts lived in what is now Ireland, Scotland, in Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom, and France. Their new year began on November 1, which for them marked the end of summer and the onset of winter. They believed that the barrier between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred on the night of October 31 as their calendar changed. Spirits of the dead were believed to roam the earth because this is a blurring between the worlds of the living and the dead, and they would cause havoc. The Celts also believed that the presence of these spirits enabled the Druids, their priests, to predict the future. October 31 was called Samhain, meaning summer's end, after the god of the same name, whom the Celts believed imprisoned the sun god for the winter. To commemorate the day, the Druids built bonfires, and people dressed in costumes made of animal heads and skins. The Romans, that's how it all began, right? The Celt New Year, the barrier between the living and the dead becoming blurred on the night of October 31 as they're about to switch from year one to the next year. The Romans had conquered the Celts by 43 CE. They ruled for 400 years and combined two of their own holidays with Samhain. One was Feralia, a holiday commemorating the dead. The other was the holiday honoring Pomona, the goddess of fruit and trees. Pomona's symbol is an apple, and this is the part of the origin of the custom to bob for apples on Halloween. See that? By the 800s, Christianity had spread into the Celtic lands. The church was having some trouble getting people to stop celebrating their old pagan holidays. So they decided to assign Christian holidays to coincide with them. Actually, the Gemara, the Talmud in Avodah Zarah, speaks about the days that is now considered to be Christmas as a pagan holiday. And then the Christianity, when they saw they couldn't get the pagans to stop worship, they couldn't get the Jews to join Christianity, they had to go to the pagans. They couldn't get the pagans to stop their pagan holidays and worship, right? Pagans means those who worship idols. So they instead put it on top. They combined them, right? They assigned Christian holidays to coincide with them. We'll see other examples later on. November 1 was designated All Saints' Day, honoring martyrs and saints. October 31 was Erev, was the eve of All Saints' Day. All Hallows' Eve. All those who are hallowed, right? They're saints and they're martyrs. Well, this was the Hallows' Eve, the eve of their Hallows' Day, which came the name Halloween. So it's not Dove, Hallow, Hollow, even though it is hollow, it's Hallow.
It's empty weed.
Yes. In 1000 CE, November 2nd was designated All Souls' Day. So we had the eve of Hallows' Day, Hallows Eve, we had Saints Day, Martyrs and Saints, and we have All Souls Day, honoring the dead. Collectively, the 3-day festival from October 31 through November 2nd was called Hallowmas. All Souls Day in England featured parades. During these festivities, the poor would beg for soul cakes, which they received in exchange for promises to pray for the donor's dead relatives. The church encouraged the practice of soliciting soul cakes to replace the practice of leaving food out to appease wandering spirits. This, of course, is the source of the modern trick or treat. Okay? Giving out these soul cakes. Now, this idea actually is not distant from Jewish idea, meaning that we want to pray for those who have passed away, right? We'll make a kiddush on a yard site so that people will make additional brachot, additional blessings, and those additional blessings should serve in the merit of the person who has passed, right? Okay. Dressing in costume comes from the Celtic tradition we mentioned before of dressing up in animal skins and from a European custom. People were afraid they would encounter ghosts if they went out on Halloween. They dressed up and wore masks to disguise themselves so that the spirits would mistake them for other ghosts. Obviously not very bright spirits, right? Nowadays, the spirits will get scared because they're going to see a little Superman and a little Batman and all the other Spider-Man, right? And all the other, Halloween traditions were popularized in America in the latter half of the 19th century by Irish immigrants, okay, fleeing the Great Potato Famine of 1846. So this Irish Celtic holiday tradition, whatever, came to the United States. By the middle of the 20th century, trick or treating had become associated with vandalism. Harmless mischief perpetrated on those who refused to gifts of food or money had grown into acts of property defacement and felonious assault. It continues to be that way in many places today, right? As I mentioned before, right? Outside my yeshiva high school, this was a very, very, very ugly time. A really ugly time getting onto that bus to get home. It was a public bus, actually. But getting onto that bus under a hail of eggs. Not pleasant.
Rabbi, we got a tattoo on Halloween, right?
I don't think so.
Yes, it was.
Was it?
That's when they graffitied us.
Was it? I don't. It could be. I didn't note that.
Yeah.
It's ironic that many fundamentalist Christian groups object to Halloween because of its pagan origins. The same superimposition of Christian holidays over existing pagan holidays was accomplished with Luper, I don't know how to pronounce it even, Salia, St. Valentine's Day, Eostre, Easter, and Yule, which is Christmas. So with that, let's go back to page 1 for a moment. Our criterion. Number 1, Halloween celebrations have a secular origin? They do not. Do not pass that test. Not even close. The conduct of the individual celebrating Halloween can be rationally explained independent of Halloween? Absolutely not. Number 3, the pagan origins of Halloween or the Catholic response are so deeply hidden they have disappeared, and the celebration can be attributed to some secular source or reason? Absolutely not. The activities memorialized by Halloween are actually consistent with the Jewish tradition? Well, maybe one of the 5 or 6 that we mentioned can be loosely associated with Jewish tradition. Whereas Thanksgiving is overwhelmingly there about giving thanks, and that is a very, very foundational Jewish principle. Here we could try to kvetch in a little bit about, something for the sake of the dead, but that's not what it is about. So for us to participate in Halloween, sending kids out to go trick or treating, anything like that really is not what we are about, really is not something for us to be participating in. But
That's Christian.
you're not,
Knocking on wood is Christian.
I'm not knocking on wood for that reason. I'm simulating a knock on the door. You go and you open the door and you see a bunch of cute little kids there, right? In these cute costumes, right? And they want some candy, right? So I would say the proper response should be, "You pagans, off my porch." That would not be the proper response, right? We live in a country, right, where I would say 99% of the people who are celebrating Halloween are doing it as an opportunity for the kids to get dressed up, have a good time, and get some candy. Actually, Rav Pam Zatzal, who is the Rosh Yeshiva of one of the major yeshivas, Torah Vidas, slipped in my mind, one of the major yeshivas in Brooklyn, actually, he and his wife would make popcorn bags to give out to the kids. And the neighborhood kids loved going to the rabbi's house, knowing they would get some fresh, warm popcorn. Nowadays, everyone would be afraid, unless it's packaged, right? Then who knows if someone's trying to poison my kids, right? That's the world we live in today, right? But he viewed it as an opportunity to show kindness and show a smiling face to the non-Jewish world coming to his door, and that's what he did. And certainly when children come, right, we should be kind, we should be generous, even if it is Jewish kids that are coming who don't know, who didn't attend my Lunch and Learn and are unaware of the reasons they should not be participating, right? Certainly, as we have written in our Aron Kodesh, Dracheha darchei noam v'chol nesivoseh shalom. Its ways, Dracheha, its pathways are pathways of pleasantness. V'chol nesivoseh, and all of its roads are shalom, are peace. So certainly in the world that we live in, now it happens to be that in Muncie there weren't too many kids coming around trick-or-treating. So it wasn't an issue. And here, the way my house is with a gate, right, and actually on Almond Tree where I live, there's very, very few Christmas trees, very few Halloween stuff in front there. So I think even the kids in my area who would be going trick-or-treating, they go to some other street where every house has its lights and has its stuff, right? And no one comes knocking. I think my first year I bought a whole bag of chocolates. Just in case, right? No one came, and now there's not eating the chocolate. So just it was a matter of weeks or days until all that was gone. So since then we don't buy the bags in preparation. Kids aren't coming, but if kids would come, I do have some lollipops just in case, right? So certainly we should be kind and friendly and generous and right, but it's not nicht for unsere, right? It's certainly not one of our ideas. Yes.
What about Israel? What happens there?
Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't. As I said before, living in Israel, right, for the years that I did, right, one of the added great benefits for me in Israel, boosts me in Israel, was looking at the calendar and saying, "Oh, Halloween passed," and I didn't even know. For me, that was such a good feeling. Again, because growing up as a teenager, Halloween had such violent and unpleasant um, uh, connotations for me. Yes, Cheryl.
So I'm wondering, like I shouldn't make this personal. Too late.
You asking for a friend.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
A very close friend. Has property that have gates around it, and I wonder whether she ought to open the gates so the kids could freely come in. Because now that she finds there's a million kids out there, but they're not coming in because the gates are not open.
Okay. I could swing open my gate and turn on all the lights.
Uh-huh.
I don't feel the need to go overboard, right? Hang up a big sign, trick or treaters welcome. I don't feel the need to do that. Normally my gate is closed, so that night my gate is closed. Normally there's a certain amount of light on the property. That's the amount of light. I don't go out of my way to invite them. I don't do anything to discourage them. Right? It's a night like any other night. My gate is the gate is as it is every other night. The lighting is as it is any other night. If children will come, I'll be very happy to gracefully give them. I don't feel the need to uh,
Welcome.
to bring them in, to invite them in, especially like I said, I don't think there are trick or treaters. I've never seen trick or treaters on my street.
Yeah, we have a lot of little kids around on my street.
Yeah, and they're going around.
Yeah, I hear them, but
Yeah.
they're not coming to my friend's house.
Right. I think your friend's house has a gate. Yeah.
Couple of gates.
Yeah. Yeah, and some barking dogs. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll definitely discourage them.
That could do the trick. Yes, Chaya Rivka.
No, when I first moved into Irvine, which was 23 years ago, people did have a lot of trick or treating, but now we have I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
No,
I think, look,
they know our neighborhood.
yeah, I think our neighborhood has become a lot more Asian
Yeah.
and Middle Eastern and Jewish over the years. So I think there's a lot less of it going on.
I also want to mention that I have somebody in my family who's not Jewish, and she every year dresses up like a dead person or a skeleton or a ghost. And I see it on Facebook or something. I always say, look for her picture, and I try to avoid it. But I tell you, it gives me the creeps. Whenever I see this person, why she would want to do that, I don't know, but
That's her minhag. Yeah.
In South Africa, we didn't have Halloween.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
didn't exist.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was till I came here.
Yeah. And you weren't missing all that much.
No, not at all.
You weren't missing all that much. I would just add that, it is fun for kids to get dressed up, right? And we have Purim for that, right? And the Hashgacha Pratis, the divine providence, has it that around November, December time, all the costumes are on sale. So many a Jewish family, they go do their costume shopping mid-November, and they get great deals on the costumes and put it away for Purim, and we're all set. Hashem, that's the divine providence. Halloween could have been after Purim, but it's before Purim, a good 3-4 months before, and it's also interesting that on Purim the kids get dressed up. And they go around, and what do? They give. They don't go around trick or treating, give me, or I'm going to Even though today the kids don't do any damage if you don't give, but they don't come around asking for us to give to them. But our children go around and mishloach manot, and we give to others. So just a nice little contrast that we have when we think Mika Amcha Yisrael, who is like your nation Israel. Okay, my friends, we'll call it over here. So from now on, Lunch and Learn will be at 1 o'clock. Right? Today it could have been at 12:30. Next week we change the clocks to Saturday night. Mincha gets switched to 12:35. Rav Shlomo, 12:35 is Mincha every day. Right? So therefore, 12:30 we could not do Lunch and Learn. Therefore, Lunch and Learn throughout the winter months, what I call the frozen tundra of Irvine. Right? So everyone will have to get onto their sleds and their cross-country skis and make it over here at 1 p.m. for our Lunch and Learn. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Good. Okay.
Rabbi,
Yes.
do we have a quote for that stone?
I'm sorry. Just 1 second, Beth.
Sorry.
Let me just close this off. Matthew, Leah, caller 1.
That's Elisheva.
Thank you for
Sorry, I
joining
couldn't get
us.
into the app.
Thank you, Rabbi.
One of the reasons
Oh.
that many